Hello everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to today's AFK Journey video. So in today's AFK Journey video, we're going to talk about Ravaged Realm most recommended units. So for Ravaged Realm, this will be dropping in the 1.24 version and it will probably be in about 1 or 2 weeks time where we will be able to see who the exact boss is. But a viewer actually suggested to me to cover the recommended units for each faction and also suggested that there is a possibility that the upcoming Ravaged Realm boss will be this final boss lady that appeared within the story, right? Thalassa over here. So we're going to take a look at Thalassa's kit, theorycraft a little bit, and then suggest some of the best units based on our past experiences in Ravaged Realm, as well as what Thalassa's kit has to offer right here. So starting off with Thalassa's ability, we have Fury Storm, which summons Tidal Wave to deal damage to all enemies and stun them for 2 seconds, while in Rampage state, this skill transforms into a Water Vortex, dealing damage and performing an extra attack on the top 3 healthiest enemies. So it's going to be an AoE damage, which is able to stun the enemy itself, okay? And then we have the second skill, Thalassa's Dance, deploys 4 tentacles when a battle starts, with the front 2 engage in battle while the rear 2 are on standby. Once the front are defeated, the rear 1 will fight instead. So Thalassa is invincible before the 4 tentacles are defeated, and when all 4 tentacles are defeated, Thalassa will enter a permanent rampage state and deal 150% damage to all enemies. So you need some sort of AoE or some sort of quick burst to finish off the tentacles, assuming this is part of a skill. And then we have Dynamic Tentacle, so this tentacle can smash or sweep, so dealing targeted damage or AoE damage. And then Colossal Dread right here activates only when Thalassa is in rampage state, marks the furthest enemy with the dead type mark, reducing their vitality, and after 5 seconds, Thalassa will pull the marked enemy to the center of the battlefield, dealing damage and stunning them for 3 seconds. Okay, so from the looks of it, we can see a few things, right? At least based on this kit of Thalassa right here. Number 1, Thalassa have some way to pull back the furthest enemy and then reduce their vitality. She has multiple ways to deal AoE damage as well as powerful single target damage, so sustain is going to be a thing. And she might have this tentacle ability which requires you to have some sort of AoE to remove it quickly. So this will be the assumption. And let's move on to my hero collection where we talk about the best units for each faction. Okay, so for this part, I'm just going to focus on the 4 main factions. For those of you guys who do not know, Ravaged Realm will cover 4 different factions on the same boss. So we cycle through the Graveborn one, cycle through the LightBearer one, cycle through the Wildest one, and then the Mauler's one, and then we have a grand total combination of all the scores together towards the end in the ultimate stage from the previous season. So assuming everything is still the same, some of the Celestial Hypogenes will actually go into each of these factions, but we do not know which one will go where, so we will be excluding the Celestial Hypogene from today's argument and focusing specifically on the factional side of things. Okay, so starting off with the LightBearer side, this pretty much forms a pretty powerful physical team. Sonya being one of the best buffer in the team to be able to increase the damage output of your carries or increase the survival of your supports or even your tank if you need their defensive stats. Sonya herself is also a really good physical attacker, which would go really well with the likes of Sinbad as well as Thermasia, because Thermasia is a decent damage dealer with the ability to reduce enemies' physical defense. So this is a pretty physical centric team over here. And then we also have the additional damage boost from Sinbad right here from the Tracker's Instinct, as well as the Adaptive Prowess debuff, depending on what the boss is strong as in the final kit itself. So these 5 units will definitely see use. And for Rowan's case, I'm assuming that factional talent will be a thing in Ravaged Realm, and this is where Rowan will be quite crucial for you to amp up your damage, being able to spam your ultimate. However, right, if you don't have the factional talent in Ravaged Realm, which is also possible, then Rowan might not be the most optimal, and in Rowan's place, obviously another damager like Vala or even Merrily would be the way to go, depending on what turns up for the Ravaged Realm itself. So this will be the top few units from the physical side of things. Vala more so if the boss is I'll say gonna fall below 50% HP, and then merely more so if the boss is weak to true damage. And from the other side of the spectrum, we have Cassidy as well. So Cassidy has always been a pretty good magical damage dealer throughout all the different boss fights. So let me just slot in my Cassidy into the base anime. I'm not going to slot in, so we're going to talk about the units individually. So Cassidy in the last season also saw some use in the Ravaged Realm in the Aurora team with some of the magical damage dealers. So this unit has always been a really good magical damage dealer, a debuffer, as well as additional damage with the Tidal Strength ability. This season she also got quite a powerful charm ability compared to last season. So last season it was restore energy until her first ultimate, and then that's it. But for this season, she's able to restore energy per second in battle, grants a 25% damage bonus, and increase energy recovered per second to 40 for 8 seconds after casting her ultimate. So this allows her to spam her ultimate more, and her ultimate actually links to the Tidal Strength itself, and also the ability to debuff the enemy with the Supreme Plus skill over here. So Cassidy is probably going to be really, really good for the bossing side of things. And last season, Mirel also saw some use with Cassidy in the magical-centric team. But I would say for this season, because we have a lot of good additions in terms of the LightBearer side, such as Sonya as well as Sinbad, I don't know whether or not Mirel will still see use. Yeah, so that is something which I'm not too sure, because I think we do need like 8 to 10 units depending on the sizing of the teams itself. So let's say if it's an 8 unit squadron that has a LightBearer factional talent, then this 8 would be like the top most recommended units. And then if you need some survival, that's where you want to maybe take out one of them and then put in a Lucius, or even put in a Faye for sustain as well as buffing for your team itself. So specifically for this season, there is also a possibility that the control coming out from Telesa, specifically the boss that we talked about earlier, might be a really annoying one. So Luca might also see some use because he can dispel dispellable control effects. So if the stun is dispellable and it's super duper annoying, you might want a tank that can go in front and take the stun effect and then dispel it to continue dealing damage to the boss. So there is this possibility that Luca might be really good there as well. So that's with regards to the LightBearer side of things. Okay, now let's move on to the Wilders side of things. So for the Wilders, honestly speaking, right, okay, let's base it off the fact that you only need 8 units, because usually if you do have the choice, right, to put in Celestial Hypogean, they will put like 2 perfection, and Celestial Hypogeans in most cases they are must-haves for the team. So we're just gonna talk about the best 8 for the Wilders. So for Wilders, Lily May needs no introduction. Personally, Tasi probably not so much, because Tasi has never really been a good bosser, so I highly doubt so, because unless the boss is weak to the sleep, I don't think Tasi will see much use. Brian's definitely going to be really, really amazing. Lenya, definitely. I do think if you are building a physical team, there's a possibility that Lenya is crazy as well. Florabelle did see some use in the previous season, but this season wise, I don't know whether or not Florabelle will come up though. So I'm gonna put Laika into the top slot, or maybe even Iron, depending on how you look at things. Okay, so first of all, Lilimi needs no explanation. Best damage dealer, best debuffer with the magic charm ability, so I'm not going to focus too much on her. Parisa has always been a really good bossing character as well, and she has a built-in buff that can amp up your carry's damage from the Flora inspiration, and she also has AoE. So assuming we need to quickly remove the tentacles, which is like this, like a very annoying tentacle hands that sweeps the battlefield, you need some AoE. That's where Parisa comes in to be able to remove it quickly as well. So Parisa has always been a good choice for bossing, and I do see her still being relevant for this season. And if you take a look at her magic charm over here, she did get the similar ability to our dear Cassidy as well, which means that she's going to spam her skill to do even more damage over time. So Parisa's definitely one of the top pick. Brian is also amazing this season for bossing contents, because he has this magic charm ability that is able to increase the damage on the boss, and this ability is able to stack with Lily May. So Brian our dear Lily May as well as our Parisa together has always been in this Wilders team. So I do still see them being together if we have the fractional talent, and all these different debuff stacking will increase your damage on the boss by quite a lot. So this is the 3 units which I think will definitely see use. And with regards to the next few, I think it's kind of subjective, but Lenya from the physical side of things will probably be another unit to look out for, because Lenya is the physical, like the best physical attacker outside of Harak in the Wilder side. So you probably will build a team around her, and if you are building a physical team, that's where I think Laika might come into play. Although Iron has this magical defense debuff, so depending on what are the 2 eventual teams that you will be building, I think the priority will be different. But I think Iron, Laika, as well as Damien, they all would see some use depending on the situation, because Damien is able to provide for the sustain. Damien over here has this ability to sort of increase the tankiness of a unit as well as increase the energy gain, which can actually allow your front unit to spam their skill more when they get hit by the boss. And on top of that, Damien has the haste buff, which will accelerate your damage output. But at the same time, Hewin also could see use, because Hewin's ability over here is the same as Damien, and on top of that, Hewin has a haste buff as well. So depending on whether or not the boss hits really hard, you might need 2 teams of healers. Then that's where you will use Hewin for one and Damien for the other one. Whereas for the damage dealer side, it's definitely between these 6 units together with Laika. Floribel did see some use in the physical team as well, but for this season, she lost the debuff to Bryon, so I'm not sure whether or not she would be a unit that comes and sees some play. But if let's say you were to build a physical team right now from the Wilder side, the best physical team that I can think of just with the Wilder's character would be this one. Yeah, so this, and then maybe throw in Damien. Where's my Damien? Damien over here. And then throw in a Laika. Okay, so this would probably be the 4 best physical combis I can think of, and then maybe we have Harak in the mix, for example, or if we have Dino in the mix, for example, then that could change out the final team composition. Because if you have Dino, then your Damien as well as Laika will be able to buff Dino, and then you put an artifact on Dino for him to be the hyper carry of your physical Wilders team itself. So these are the few units that I'll recommend to build up to prepare for Ravaged Realm. And next we have the Mauler side. Okay, Mauler side is, to be really honest, I think the Mauler characters, you guys probably know them and why they're good by now, but Odie as usual. Okay, Mikola as usual, definitely. Like I don't think they will not see use, because like their ability is just so broken. So that's my Mikola. We're gonna put Mikola upwards. We're gonna bring in the likes of Reese as well. Shakir for the aura stacking for sure. And I mean, to be really honest with you guys, right? If you were to split the spectrum up into the physical and magical, I'll talk about the physical side, okay? So Mauler has a lot of variety, because for the Mauler side of things, right, they are quite well-rounded in terms of the physical and magical side of things. So here we have a physical team, right, in the form of Shakir, Kruger, as well as Mikola, and obviously the likes of Reese as well as Brutus over here. So Mikola, Shakir, and Kruger needs no introduction. They are pretty much a must-have for most physical team for their auras, heal, as well as buffs and debuffs on the boss itself. So why am I suggesting Brutus right here? This is because Brutus has always been in and out for his physical debuff potential, because he has the ability to reduce the physical defense of the boss to allow your other units to hit harder. However, at the same time, looking at the team right now, we have quite a bit of buffers, so he might not be needed for the team, because you might need one more physical damage dealer. This is where, if you are looking at the existing pool of Mauler physical carries, then the next best one would probably be Seth, right, in terms of best damage. So this is provided, right, if we are not using the other Celestial Hypogean characters in the mix. I think this is probably the best physical team we can come in. Maybe take out Seth, put in Smokey for additional buff, but we shall see how it goes. So this is more for the physical side. So Reese this season got the same debuff ability as Bryon, so definitely will see some use within Ravaged Realm. And Reese has always been a pretty decent damage dealer all around, so probably a must for min-maxing of your damage. And then for Seth's case, I'm using him if he's gonna be like this main physical carry if we don't have the introduction of the physical side of the Celestial Hypogene. So this character over here has the ability to increase crit for the next 3 seconds and recover HP after you defeat a non-summon enemy. So assuming if the tentacles, they are considered non-summon unit, Seth over here will be able to benefit from it, and this will give him a lot more damage. So this is why I put him here. And on top of that, he also is a pretty decent damage dealer in terms of the single target side. So this will be the physical units I recommend. Honestly speaking, Saurian might be good as well, but I think it's unlikely. Yeah, because Saurian has always been a very AoE based PvP kind of character, so unlikely. And even for the debuffs over here, it's not all that good, but I could be biting my own hands if there's a need for this skill. So we shall see how it goes. So this will be the physical side of things. And then for the magical side, we obviously have OD. As usual, Coco's gonna be pretty good if you need survival, and then Smokey obviously for the buffing. And Satrana. Okay, Satrana last season was insanely good because her magical charm ability or her seasonal skill was that which increases magical damage. For this season though, I honestly don't think she will be as good, but she will still be quite crucial for the magical side of things because she does quite a bit of, I'll say, like damage of the Ignite Passion skill, and she also got the very same damage M buff from the magic charm ability right here. So I do see her seeing some use, but I won't actually rush into her because like I mentioned earlier, we do have the Celestial Hypogene included in the pool. So Celestial Hypogene has a lot of really good magical attackers like Freyasto, Talin, and they could actually come into the pool, and that's why I wouldn't actually put her here. So instead of her, I'll recommend Elsa because Elsa right now sees a lot of use in Dream Realm, and Elsa has all along been a pretty good magical damage dealer on her own. So yeah, she will definitely see some use as well. So this is, I'll say, like the better recommendation. So that would be the few magical attackers that I recommend for the Mauler side of things, for the Ravaged Realm side. So next, let's move on to the last class, the Graveborn one. So we won't be talking about the Celestial Hypogene because there's a very high chance if the Celestial Hypogene are featured in the battle itself, they are must use because they are the strongest units in the game and they have insane synergy with the factions that they are put into. So next one, let's end off this with the Graveborn side. So for the Graveborn side, this season, Graveborn has been pretty neglected, but they do have some insanely good units, such as the likes of Torrent, such as the likes of Ludovic. So they would probably still be good here. Like I don't see them going anywhere, and Cisia, being an old school good unit, should also still be there. And from a physical side of things, Hodgkin over here is actually a pretty good physical unit, or the physical debuffer for the team, because one thing about Hodgkin that you guys might have forgotten is that he also has the ability to reduce the physical defense of the enemies, similar to our dear Cassidy as well. So if you are building a physical team, I'm looking at this being the best physical units, and then Ludovic going into the magical team. So for the very last physical unit, right, it's really hard to say who will be the better one. But maybe Nara could be good, right? So I honestly don't know who will be the last lot for the Graveborn side. At least what I'll put is Lezo here, because this is basically the whole collection in the game from the physical side for the Graveborn. So Lezo this season, kind of unspectacular, has always been pretty unspectacular, but is a okay physical damage dealer if you don't have other better options. But he'll probably be one of the lower priority ones. So this tree, right, together with Hodgkin, they will be like the higher priority because I do see them confirm being used in physical teams in general, because Cisia has always been a good physical damage dealer, and then you have the debuff from Hodgkin as well as the debuff and damage potential from Torrent for your whole team to do more damage. So this 3 unit will definitely be a must. For Serina's case, I think it's subjected to the mechanics, but with regards to the 5 compulsory character from the Graveborn side, I would say Carolina's pretty much a must as well. because she has a good debuff in the Supreme Plus skill. And then for the very last one, we'll put in Ludovic, because yeah, Ludovic's heal as well as damage output is nothing to be scoffed at. Yeah, so where's my Ludovic? Ludovic over here. Okay, so this will be the 5 Graveborn characters that I recommend you must have, at least to prepare for Ravaged Realm. With regards to the others, I think it's quite subjected to what the boss have to offer finally to give a definitive conclusion. Okay, and 1.24 will probably be released after Bonnie's arrival, so there is a possibility that Bonnie is also a really good character for the Ravaged Realm boss side. So that's pretty much it with regards to this video. These are what I will say the highly recommended units for you to build up to prepare for Ravaged Realm, but I will still say that there could be some changes, right, in terms of the mechanics, because if you need more sustain, then units like Niru or units like Hewin or Damien could increase in priority. But if you want to go the safe route of doing damage, debuffing, right, as well as having mechanics that can do really well against the bosses, then these units, they are the best recommended for each factions. So thank you very much for tuning in. Let me know what you think about this list and whether or not you have better suggestions for the recommended units itself, and I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.